You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Syracuse football is going to get more help on defense and on special teams this week against NC State. And let me remind you guys, the Orange take on the Wolfpack on Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, looking to start 5-1. Let's start off with the defense and why they are getting help back. Well, Marcellus Barnes, a four-star true freshman starting corner who injured himself early in the game against Stanford with back spasms. Then he missed the Holy Cross and the UNLV games. Well, here's the good news. Coach Fran Brown said in his press conference that he expects that Marcellus Barnes will be back in the lineup for NC State. Again, Fran Brown's words, not my words. That is according to Fran Brown. So if he doesn't play, don't come at me. All right? I'm just saying what Coach is saying here. This is why it is so big for Syracuse that Marcellus Barnes is coming back. He has been one of the main surprises of not only training camp, but in this season overall. Because, yeah, he's a four-star player, and you can argue that he was the best player that Syracuse recruited in that 2024 recruiting cycle. You can make that argument, okay? You can. Regardless, he's a true freshman, and earning a starting corner spot as a true freshman, I don't care what team you're on, is not easy. I don't care what star you are, where you're ranked in high school, it's never easy to earn playing time as a true freshman, all right? There are very few, I know it's not cornerback, but there are very few Jeremiah Smiths and Ryan Williams and Cam Coleman's out there, or Dylan Rayola's out there, right? It doesn't normally happen for true freshmen. They don't normally play. But Barnes have been playing really, really well this season. Through the first 2 weeks, if you go look at Pro Football Focus, he was one of the highest graded defenders on this team through 2 weeks. And he's a true freshman. So this is not only someone that you can be excited about right now, but you can be excited about going forward in the future as one of the main corners of this team. And think about it. You got Marcellus Barnes, and in 2025 recruiting cycle, they just got a four-star in Demetrius Samuel, who's coming along. So the future is pretty bright in the defensive back room. A safety in Demetrius Samuel with Marcellus Barnes as a corner. He's obviously been very, very good this season, like I just said. And he's going to be needed. Similar to Justice Ross Simmons, we are in the meat and potatoes of the schedule. I keep on saying meat and potatoes, but you get the point. This is it. We're 4-1. We got all these ACC games coming up now. We need him, especially against a team like NC State. Think about NC State for a second here, related to this game. They got Kevin Concepcion, one of the better wide receivers in the country. I know he's had a little bit of a down year. If you look at his stats, they're very interesting because he has 37 catches in 6 games, but he has barely any yards. Regardless, that is still one of the better receivers in the country. And getting a starting cornerback from injury is massive. It's massive for Syracuse. Justin Joly, he's been a nice surprise for NC State this season. And although he is a tight end, you still need all hands on deck in the secondary. Right? They got some good players on NC State. I know they're 3-3. I know they've underachieved, but in the preseason, that was a top 25 team. They got to take them seriously. You're not a preseason top 25 team by accident, right? That shows that the team has talent. They at this moment aren't playing up to their potential. But they still got Kevin Concepcion. They got Justin Joly. They got a good running game. You need all your defenders back. They're not going to have Marlo Wax in all likelihood this week. Maybe we see him back for Pittsburgh, right? That was expected when they announced the 6-week timetable for Marlo Wax. I laid it out on Twitter. If he comes back aggressively, it would be for this game against NC State. If it's the 6 weeks, like they're saying, it's Pitt. And if it goes past Pitt, then we're kind of in trouble because then you're past 6 weeks. But regardless, you need everyone you can. And getting Marcellus Barnes back to help this secondary, which at times has looked pretty poor, is going to be huge for this team. It's going to take a lot of pressure off of Clarence Lewis, who is being asked to be the number one corner right now. He still might be the number one corner when Barnes returns. But at the end of the day, it's still less pressure on him to really be able to perform because your number 2 corner is upgraded regardless. Bottom line. So getting Marcellus Barnes back from injury is so crucial for this team, not only for the rest of the season, but for this week against NC State with their top pass catchers against us. Let's talk about the special teams, shall we? Which has certainly been in the news for the Orange. We know. Now, I mentioned in the post game about the special teams and the block punts. We know about that. The block punts have been an issue, obviously, and the missed field goals. And one thing that I don't think we've talked about enough, and I've mentioned it in passing, is the kick returns. The kick returns have not been very good the past couple of games, have they? Just by the eye test, they really haven't been that good. Well, one of the reasons for that is their main returner is out right now, but he's expected to be back, and that is Malachi James. They are expected to get their true freshman kick returner back after missing the past 2 weeks with an injury. He should definitely help the kick return game. I don't know if he's going to help the block punts, but again, they had Yassine Willis returning the kicks before him, and nothing against Yassine Willis, but Malachi James is one of the fastest players in college football. Okay, so I'd rather him returning kicks than Yassine Willis, who's more of a power back right now. He's got some wheels. I know, I get it. He's super athletic. This is not a disrespect to Yassine Willis. But if you had to ask, who would you rather be a kick returner? Malachi James, the fastest player maybe in college football, or Yassine Willis? You'd probably take Malachi James, and he should definitely help kick returns for Syracuse. Even if he's not getting, 30, 40 yards on a return, there's a big difference between the 10-yard line and the 20-yard line. So hopefully Malachi James, him being back, is going to help the special teams, not necessarily on the block punt issue, but on the kick return issue. All right, so once again, 2 more players coming back from injury this week, Marcellus Barnes on defense and Malachi James. Leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of Syracuse getting potentially 3 contributors back this week against NC State. Do you think that this increases Syracuse's chances of beating NC State this weekend? Once again, leave a comment in the comment section below.